The deeper researchers go underground, the older the artifacts they find. Deep within the coal seams, scientists have uncovered objects that could change our understanding of the past. Their age is so incredible that it's hard to believe. In this video, I will show the most mysterious ancient artifacts, talk about a man out of time, reveal the secret of the scent of mummies, and explain where the remains of Jesus' brother were found. Get ready, you're about to discover findings that turn history upside down. Hi, my friend, you're on the Kurtop channel. The man out of time, Michel Siffre, became a pioneer in the study of time and the workings of the human mind. His experiments amazed scientists so much that even NASA used their results. In 1962, 23-year-old Siffre spent 2 months in complete isolation in a cave, giving up clocks and sunlight. He wanted to find out how the body perceives time without external cues. It turned out that outside the usual 24-hour cycle, a person switches to 48-hour rhythms, and time is felt differently. 5 minutes seem like 2. 10 years later, he repeated the experiment, spending half a year in the Texas cave. His discoveries became the foundation of chronobiology and helped prepare astronauts for long missions. A girl was infected with a medieval curse. Do you think it's possible to literally travel back to the Middle Ages in the modern world? And I'm not talking about a reenactment festival, but about a truly terrifying phenomenon. In the Middle Ages, people suffered from the mysterious disease known as St. Anthony's fire, also called witches' convulsions. The symptoms were terrifying: convulsions, bloody vomiting, psychosis, and in severe cases, gangrene of the limbs. Those infected were often considered to be possessed by demons. In reality, the cause was simple: ergot poisoning, a parasitic fungus that infects rye. Bread made from contaminated grain caused mass epidemics throughout Europe and even in Russia. The last major cases were recorded in 1951 in France, when 250 people fell ill and 4 died. It seemed the disease was a thing of the past, but recently an American girl felt a severe burning sensation in her legs. Doctors were puzzled. The tissue in her limb began to die. Only after extensive testing did it turn out that she had been poisoned by ergot, catching a real greeting from the Middle Ages. Modern technology has almost eliminated such cases, but as we can see, history can repeat itself. The remains of Jesus' brother. In Israel, a 2,000-year-old ossuary was discovered with the inscription, "James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus." This sparked fierce debates. It is possible that the box held the remains of James the Just, the first bishop of Jerusalem and the brother of Jesus. Today, this artifact is on display in Atlanta, among 350 ancient relics from the time of Christ. However, its authenticity remains in question. The owner of the ossuary, collector Oded Golan, was accused of forging the inscription, with claims that he added the phrase, "brother of Jesus." But after years of legal proceedings, the charges were dropped, although the judge clarified that this does not prove the authenticity of the artifact. If the inscription is genuine, the ossuary would become the oldest physical evidence of the existence of Jesus. In the 1st century, Jews kept the bones of the deceased in limestone boxes. Therefore, the discovery of such an ossuary is not surprising. In 2017, another artifact related to it was found. The ancient text is called the First Apocalypse of James. It says that Jesus gave his brother secret knowledge, including predictions of his death. This text was banned because it did not conform to the canonical New Testament. The ancient necropolis of Persian kings. Before you is one of the most impressive bas-reliefs of ancient Persia. It depicts the victory of Shahanshah Shapurthur over the Roman Emperor Valerian. This monument is located in Naqsh-e-Rustam, the ancient necropolis of Persian kings in Iran. On the bas-relief, Shapur-Thursirj is sitting on a horse in luxurious armor, and in front of him, kneeling, is Philip the Arab, the Roman emperor who made peace with the Persians. But most importantly, he is holding the captured Valerian. This was the only case in history when a Roman emperor was taken captive. After the defeat at the Battle of Edessa in the year 260, Valerian was never able to return. According to various accounts, he died in captivity or was killed. This bas-relief is not just a historical monument, but a symbol of the greatness of the Persian Empire. It reminded everyone who passed by that the Romans, the dominant power at the time, suffered a humiliating defeat. The most fearsome tribe. Traveler and blogger Daniel Pinto caused quite a stir by posting a video of the Viatovai tribe from Papua New Guinea. In the video, which has gathered over 17 million views, he shows a meeting with the silent members of the tribe, guarding the sacred waterfall. The Viatovai people are dressed in costumes made of mud and clay, and their masks resemble spiritual birds with long noses and fierce expressions. They protect the waterfall from outsiders, and they are quite intimidating. However, viewers doubted the authenticity of the video. Some commenters claimed that the most fearsome tribe would never let a blogger get so close. Others joke that their costumes look like fashionable outfits. Despite the controversy, the video attracted tourists' attention to the region. Now, travel agencies mention Viatovai as a tourist destination, offering guests eco-lodges and an introduction to the tribe's culture. And what do you think? Is this tribe real or just another way to attract naive tourists? Write your opinion in the comments below the video. Marks etched into the bricks of history. Mehrangarh Fort in Jodhpur is one of the most magnificent structures in India. But behind its beauty lie dark pages of history. On the inner gates of Lohapole, 15 handprints of women are still visible, silent witnesses to the tragic tradition of sati. Sati is an ancient Hindu ritual in which widows were expected to burn on their husband's funeral pyre. Sometimes women did this voluntarily, but more often they were forced. This practice was officially banned by the British in 1829. However, it persisted in India well into the 20th century. In 1843, after the death of Maharaja Man Singh, his wives left handprints on the wall before stepping into the fire. However, this is not the only such case in the fort's history. In 1731, 6 wives and 58 concubines of Maharaja Ajit Singh also ended their lives in the flames. Tragedy started as soon as the fortress was founded. In the 15th century, the Saint Chidyavali Baba cursed Rao Jodha, declaring that his lands would suffer from eternal droughts. To lift the curse, the king ordered a resident, Rajaram Migwal, to be walled up alive in the fort's walls. But the curse still seems to be in effect. Here, Maharajas have perished, tourists have fallen, and in 2008, during a stampede at the Chamunda Devi temple, hundreds of people were killed or injured. Knights versus snails. Medieval manuscripts are not only sources of knowledge, but also a real treasure trove of mysterious and amusing illustrations. Among them, special attention should be paid to marginalia, strange drawings in the margins of manuscripts. And one of the most curious themes found in English and French books of the 13th and 14th centuries is the battle between a knight and a snail. Why did monks copying books need to depict such an absurd scene? One explanation is simple boredom. Monks entertained themselves by decorating pages with grotesque drawings, and over time this became a kind of art. But such illustrations could also have hidden meanings. Perhaps the snail symbolized cowardice. Like a knight in armor, it hides in its shell. Some historians believe that this is a satire on the slowness of the aristocracy, or even a mockery of certain political groups. Be that as it may, these strange scenes still spark debates among researchers, and the battle between the knight and the snail remains one of the most mysterious medieval miniatures. Beaded dress. Before you is one of the rarest ancient Egyptian garments. The beaded dress dates back to around 2550 BC, the era of the 4th dynasty. This was the time when the Great Pyramids were being built, and similar outfits were worn by noble women, possibly even priestesses. The dress is made in a mesh structure from hundreds of small fance beads, creating the effect of scales or fish skin. It was worn over a thin linen tunic. It made the look not only elegant, but also symbolically significant. The Egyptians believed that such clothing could grant protection and favor from the gods. It's incredible this dress has lasted thousands of years in such good condition. This is not just a piece of clothing, but an artifact that gives us an idea of the fashion, traditions, and aesthetics of the ancient Egyptian elite. Today it is kept in a museum and is one of the most outstanding examples of ancient textile art. A rare giant book. Before you is one of 12 giant books from the 18th century written in Spanish. Its size is impressive, almost a meter in length. These books were created for religious ceremonies and contained detailed scripts of worship services. Leather binding, wooden covers, pages made from tanned animal skin. All this made the book not only durable, but also a symbol of the church's grandeur. Such manuscripts were intended for use in churches, where clergy and the choir could read the text from a distance. That's why the letters are so large. Today, this rarity is kept at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. Restoration scientists are carefully studying it, trying to preserve it in its original form. These books are a real window into the past, allowing us to see what liturgical texts looked like and what the attitude toward writing was in the era of colonial Latin America. Birth certificates. Before you is one of the oldest birth certificates created more than 4,000 years ago in the Sumerian civilization. It consists of 2 clay tablets. One is covered with cuneiform writing, and the other has an imprint of a child's foot. In ancient Mesopotamia, such tablets were used as official documents confirming a person's birth. The cuneiform text probably contains the child's name, the parents' names, the date of birth, and possibly even astrological predictions. And the footprint served as a kind of personal signature, a unique way to identify the infant. This artifact shows how advanced the bureaucratic systems were in ancient Sumer. Even then, people understood the importance of documentation, and such records could be used to confirm inheritance or social rights. This is a real window into the ancient world which seems so distant, but in some ways is very similar to ours. The real truth about the woolly mammoth. Mammoths are always associated with the Ice Age, endless tundra steppe landscapes, and primitive hunters struggling for survival. But behind the legendary image lies a reality in which the woolly mammoth was not the largest, and not even the first to conquer America. The woolly mammoth stood up to 3.5 meters tall, but the African elephant is taller, reaching up to 4 meters. Even among its relatives, it was not the largest. Columbian, imperial, and steppe mammoths reached 5 meters in height and weighed up to 13 tons. However, the woolly mammoth surpassed them in width and fur density, which made its survival in glacial conditions more successful. Besides, it was not the first to arrive in America. Southern mammoths and their descendants, the Columbian mammoths, already lived there. The woolly mammoth couldn't displace them and stayed only in the northern areas. But despite all this, it was the most numerous and influential species. Its population numbered in the tens of thousands, and its habitat stretched from the Arctic Ocean to Mexico. Even after going extinct, mammoths left a huge mark on history. Hundreds of thousands of tons of their remains are still preserved in the permafrost. Their tusks were used in trade even more than African elephant ivory. An artifact made from a hippopotamus tooth. Archaeologists have discovered in Spain the oldest artifact made from a hippopotamus tooth. This find, dated to the second quarter of the 3rd millennium BC, confirms the existence of trade connections between the Pyrenees, Africa, and the Middle East as far back as 4,500 years ago. The rare item was found among artifacts from the Bobila Majorelle settlement in Barcelona, which belonged to the Veraza culture. The artifact is about 10 centimeters long. One end is pointed, the other is broken. Scientists suggest that it is a tool, possibly related to textile production. Analysis showed that the artifact is made not from fossilized, but from fresh hippopotamus tooth. Traces of red pigment mixed with organic substances, possibly animal fat or egg white, have been preserved on its surface. Jade cicada. Before you is a jade cicada created during the Western Zhou dynasty. This artifact is not just a decoration. It had a deep symbolic meaning. In Chinese culture, the cicada was considered a symbol of rebirth and immortality, while jade was the stone of eternity. Such a figurine might be placed in the deceased's mouth before burial, believed to help the soul enter the afterlife and be reborn. Traces of red paint found on the artifact are also important. The color red symbolized protection and good luck. The finest carving demonstrates the high level of skill of ancient Chinese craftsmen. Pay attention to the eyes, the folded paws, and the patterns that give the figurine an almost mystical appearance. Such items were part of rituals and reflected the religious beliefs of people of that era. A luxurious, pointless event. Ballingham is a small village in England, but it was here 500 years ago that one of the most lavish meetings in history took place. The King of England, Henry VIII, and the French monarch, Francis I, held a grand celebration that went down in history as the Field of the Cloth of Gold. The official meeting aimed to strengthen the alliance between the two kings against Emperor Charles V, but it became a contest in extravagance. Henry built a giant tent palace covering 10,000 square meters, with walls that were brick at the base and painted to look like stone above. The roof resembled tiles, and at the entrance there were fountains pouring out red wine. The celebration lasted for 18 days, accompanied by feasts, tournaments, and masquerades. Each king arrived with 3,500 attendants, for whom 98,000 eggs, 2,200 sheep, and even exotic dishes like guinea pig and dolphin were prepared. But even amid the luxury, rivalry prevailed. Henry challenged Francis to a wrestling match and lost. Soon he formed an alliance with Charles V, and a year later, England was at war with France. The Field of the Cloth of Gold became a symbol of incredible luxury, with golden decorations everywhere. Here you see exquisite gold earrings created in the 1st century BC during the Satavahana dynasty in the Andhra Pradesh region of India. These pieces showcase the exceptional skill of ancient jewelers who crafted gold with advanced granulation and embossing techniques. The jewelry has a massive curved shape and is richly decorated. You can see images of animals on them, such as the horse and the lion, which in Indian culture symbolize strength, power, and protection. The detailing is impressive. Every bead, every line is crafted with incredible precision. Such earrings were worn by noble women and possibly even members of the royal family. Today, these artifacts are an invaluable legacy of ancient Indian jewelry craftsmanship. The metal rod. How can we explain this mysterious artifact? Inside a Mazan stone found in the Chinese mountains, collector Jilin Wang discovered a metal rod with threads resembling a screw. But what's most strange is that solid rock formed around it, which suggests that the find could be millions of years old. Some have suggested that it's a meteorite with an alien artifact inside. Others believe that it's an ancient man-made object that, for unknown reasons, ended up in the ground and turned into a fossil. Skeptics, on the other hand, believe that it's just a rare natural formation, and the screw is simply a fossilized marine organism. But the most interesting thing is that similar finds have already been discovered in different parts of the world. Coincidence or evidence of an ancient unknown technology? For now, this artifact remains one of the most mysterious archaeological enigmas. An intriguing discovery in Egypt. In Egypt, 2 divers found unique artifacts from the Greco-Roman period, retrieving hundreds of ancient relics from the seafloor. However, instead of handing the finds over to the authorities, they tried to keep them for themselves. The artifacts were found in Abu Qir Bay, off the coast of Alexandria, at the site where the sunken cities of Heraklion and Canopus once stood. As a result of the police operation, 448 items were seized from the divers: 305 coins, 53 statuettes, 41 axes, 14 bronze bowls, 12 spears, and even 3 heads from ancient statues. The coins are decorated with images of animals: lions, elephants, turtles, dolphins, as well as Pegasus, the legendary winged horse. Many of the bronze artifacts are covered with a turquoise patina due to centuries spent underwater. According to the examination, the finds date from 500 BC to 400 AD, covering the reign of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the subsequent rule of Rome. The divers are suspected of attempting theft and possibly concealing some of the artifacts. Are these finds really 300 million years old? From time to time, miners find strange artifacts in coal seams that apparently were created by intelligent beings. This raises uncomfortable questions for science because the age of these layers is estimated at 300 million years. How could objects that were clearly made by human hands end up there? After all, at that time, the Earth was inhabited only by giant insects and the first reptiles, and there was no question of humans, dinosaurs, or even more so, advanced technologies. However, the discoveries continue to amaze. In 1912, an iron kettle was extracted from a coal seam in the state of Oklahoma, and in 1851, A vase made of zinc and silver was discovered in Massachusetts, and the age of the rock it was found in is 534 million years. In Russia, a metal rod resembling a gear rack was found, made of aluminum with an admixture of magnesium. Its origin is even more mysterious. Aluminum was only discovered in 1825, and the coal in which it was found is over 300 million years old. Scientists found that the metal was impregnated with carbon, which confirms its incredible age. But if that's the case, who made it? Some believe that these discoveries are traces of a vanished civilization that existed long before us, but was wiped from the face of the planet by a global cataclysm. Others suggest that the objects could have been left by aliens or even time travelers. Skeptics, in turn, are convinced that these are hoaxes or mistakes in dating. There is also a theory that coal was formed not millions, but only a few thousand years ago under the influence of underground gases and pressure. If that's the case, the artifacts may turn out to be not so ancient after all. The mystery of the Herculaneum Scroll. Thanks to artificial intelligence and advanced X-ray technologies, scientists have managed to decipher the text of one of the ancient scrolls from Herculaneum for the first time. These unique artifacts, which survived the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, remained a mystery for almost 2,000 years. The scrolls were discovered in the 1750s among the ruins of a Roman villa. However, after the disaster, they turned into charred, fragile rolls that could not be unrolled without being destroyed. Most of them are kept in the National Library of Naples, and a few copies are in Oxford. In 2023, the Vesuvius Challenge competition was launched, aimed at finding technologies to decipher these texts. Recently, researchers announced a major breakthrough. With the help of high-energy X-ray scanning and artificial intelligence algorithms, it was possible to create the first image of the interior of the scroll from Oxford. Scientists have already identified several words, one of which is the Greek word for disgust. Although the text is still fragmentary, the method continues to improve. More than 1,000 similar scrolls are kept in Naples, and now researchers have hope of deciphering them. An artifact with a secret inscription. British teenager Lucas Canliff made an archaeological discovery while walking with his father in northern England. With the help of a metal detector, he discovered the pommel of a medieval sword, which is more than 700 years old. Experts claim that this artifact from the late 13th century is a real rarity. The bronze handle is engraved with a Latin inscription, Jesus, King of the Jews. Historical weapons specialist Paul MacDonald noted that there are only 7 such finds, and all of them were made in Scotland. Historians suggest that this sword was used during the time of the Scottish War of Independence. It is possible that it is even connected to the era of Robert Bruce, the legendary King of Scotland. Skin and scales on the ancient skeleton. Paleontologists studied an amazingly well-preserved skeleton of a plesiosaur, which was found in Germany back in 1940, and the fossil lay for decades in the museum garden until, in 2020, scientists discovered that it preserved soft tissues, skin, and even cell nuclei. This discovery helps us better understand the appearance of ancient marine reptiles that lived 183 million years ago. The body of the plesiosaur was sealed in the Posidonia shales, which allowed the skin to be preserved along the spine and on the flipper. It turned out to be thicker than previously thought and resembled the skin of sea turtles. Microscopic analysis showed that the tissue structure matches that of modern reptiles. The most amazing discovery was the scales on the flipper. They resemble the scales of snakes and lizards, and could have helped the plesiosaur either when moving along the bottom or when maneuvering in the water. Scientists say this reptile looks like a mix of a leatherback and a green turtle, but the appearance and neck length of their plesiosaurs are still debated. But this discovery provides the first real data about what they looked like. As if alive. In the famous Badagai crater, which is called the Gates of Hell, the amazingly well-preserved remains of a baby woolly mammoth have been discovered. The female, named Yana, lived more than 50,000 years ago, and she probably died from a fatal back injury during the Ice Age. At the time of her death, the mammoth calf was about a year old. Her height at the shoulder is 1 meter 20 centimeters, and her weight is about 180 kilograms. Among the 7 known woolly mammoth calves, Yana stands out for her exceptional preservation. Her trunk, lips, ears, and eye sockets have remained almost untouched, which is very rare. According to the scientist Maxim Cheprasov, the mammoth's head was perfectly preserved, but the back part of the body was damaged, possibly due to a fall. The front half of the baby mammoth had already thawed halfway out of the permafrost when it was discovered by local residents. The Badegay crater is considered the largest permafrost collapse in the world. Its thawing releases about 5,000 tons of carbon every year. A foal of the Lena horse was also found here, which was 42,170 years old. A brewery from the time of Egypt's first rulers. Archaeologists have discovered the oldest brewery in the world, located in the necropolis of Abydos, Egypt. This discovery not only sheds light on early brewing technologies, but also helps us understand how resources were managed during the construction of the pyramids. The complex consists of 8 massive installations, each up to 20 meters long. Each of them contains 2 rows of 40 vessels, which were used to heat a mixture of grain and water, the classic beer brewing process. Scientists date the brewery to the era of Pharaoh Narmer, who is considered the founder of the first dynasty. Dr. Adams, who led the research, described it as industrial-scale production and noted that it shows a high level of labor organization in ancient Egypt. The ability to manage the mass distribution of resources and organize the workforce allowed the Egyptians to build grand structures, including the pyramids. In addition, beer played an important role in rituals. Large-scale production in Abydos indicates its use in sacrifices, ceremonies, and rituals, which confirms its significance in the development of Egyptian royal power. Golden torque. In the United Kingdom, an amateur with a metal detector discovered a golden torque that is 3,000 years old. The ancient ornament, found in a field near the Stour River in Essex County, turned out to be very similar to artifacts previously recorded in the region. Torques are massive gold necklaces that symbolize the high status of the owner. The discovered specimen dates back to the Middle Bronze Age. Analysis showed that the item is made up of 75% gold, 18% silver, and contains a small amount of copper. The ornament, measuring 14.7 centimeters in length, is made from a rectangular gold rod on which the craftsman carved 4 deep grooves and then twisted the metal, giving it a unique shape. According to Laurie Rogerson, a specialist in ancient finds, the artifact looks as if it was made yesterday. Working with such a soft metal required great skill because twisting it too much could tear the gold. Turned out not to be a man. In Jerusalem, archaeologists made an unexpected discovery while studying the burial of an ascetic monk. It turned out that the remains belonged to a woman, which was unusual for monastic practices of that time. The grave was found in Khirbet el-Masani, where a Byzantine monastery was located from the 4th to the 7th centuries AD. Heavy iron shackles about 10 centimeters in diameter were found around the skeleton, which initially led scientists to assume that the buried person was a man. However, analysis of the tooth enamel confirmed that it was a woman. This fact overturns the understanding of asceticism in the Byzantine Empire. Although there are written sources about female ascetics, such as Melania the Elder and Melania the Roman, archaeological evidence of such practices is extremely rare. The iron shackles indicate extreme forms of self-restraint in the pursuit of spiritual perfection. Until now, it was believed that such practices were exclusively male. The monastery was located on the pilgrimage route to Jerusalem, which made it an important center not only for prayer, but also as a refuge for travelers. The discovery of this burial suggests that women played a more significant role in monastic communities than previously thought. This happens once in a lifetime. 2 years ago, David Dunn from the British town of Sapcote, Leicestershire, became interested in searching with a metal detector so he could spend more time outdoors. One day, his intuition told him to return to a pasture he had already visited. After several hours of searching, his device gave a weak signal. In the ground, David found 2 Roman coins, and then digging down to 60 centimeters, he unearthed a total of 50 ancient silver coins. The oldest of them date back to the reign of Carausius, who ruled Britain during the late Roman Empire. The rest were minted during the reigns of Electus, Diocletian, and Maximian, which means the hoard is at least 1,700 years old. Discoveries like this happen once in a lifetime. The coins will go to auction and are expected to bring David about $1,800. However, he says that money is not the most important thing for him. The smell of Egyptian mummies. Scientists have studied the scents of ancient Egyptian mummies for the first time, revealing unexpected details about the embalming process. The analysis showed that the mummies emit woody, spicy, and sweet aromas associated with the use of natural preservatives. The researchers studied 9 mummies, dating from the New Kingdom to the Byzantine period. Using gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, they determined the composition of the embalming substances: pine, cedar, and juniper resins, myrrh, frankincense, spices, herbs, vegetable oils, animal fat, and wax. According to experts, the discovery will help preserve ancient artifacts and also open up new opportunities for museums. Now, visitors will not only be able to see, but also smell ancient Egypt, immersing themselves in the atmosphere of that era. Scents played an important role in Egyptian rituals. A pleasant aroma symbolized divinity and purity, while stench was associated with decay and impurity. Even after 5,000 years, mummies have retained their fragrance, highlighting the importance of this aspect in ancient culture. Leap Castle. Located 3 kilometers from the town of Ossuary, Ireland, it is considered the most sinister place in the country. Built around 1250, it became home to the bloodthirsty O'Carroll clan. Betrayals, murders, and tortures took place here, and numerous ghosts still roam its halls. The history of the castle began with a tragedy. 2 brothers from the O'Bannon clan argued over power and decided to jump off a cliff to determine the winner. The survivor became the leader of the clan, and the castle was named Bannon's Leap. Later, the fortress was taken over by the O'Carrolls, who were notorious for their cruelty. In 1532, during Mass, one of the O'Carrolls killed his priest brother right at the altar. Since then, his ghost has wandered the bloody chapel, from whose windows light is sometimes seen. In 1922, workers found an underground pit in the castle with the remains of 150 people. In the Middle Ages, prisoners were thrown in here and simply forgotten. Some of the castle's ghosts are friendly. For example, Emily is a girl who died after falling from the castle wall. Witnesses say they see her falling, but she disappears right before hitting the ground. However, there is also a much more sinister entity, the Elemental, an ancient spirit that may have been summoned by druids. It appears rarely, but is considered the most dangerous inhabitant of the castle. Today, the castle is partially restored, but its dark history lives on. Tours are held here, and many guests leave Leap with the feeling that someone is watching them. Would you like to visit a castle with ghosts, and could you spend at least one night alone in the castle? Write in the comments below the video, and don't forget to give a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.